There is mounting anticipation outside former President Jacob Zuma's homestead in Nkandla, and that's ahead of a visit by Abathembu King Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo today. During Zuma's presidency, the pair shared what's been described as a shaky relationship with the king at one point, implying that Zuma had no respect for traditional leaders and ministers. But what else should we make of this visit? Political analyst Rebone Tau joins us now via our video link. Rebone also happens to be the author of The Rise and Fall of the ANC Youth League. And Rebone, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed for making time. Let me just begin by asking plainly, what, if anything, should ordinary South Africans take from this visit?
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers at home. I think this also, as Africans, we have this word called Ubuntu. And this for us shows that the king does have Ubuntu. In spite of the relationship that we have seen during the tenure of Zuma as the President of the Republic, we know that the king was arrested, under the Zuma era, and served some time in prison. But also it shows the maturity, from the king's side, that he does not hold any grudges, And I've managed to speak to someone who will be part of that delegation going there today, accompanying the king last night. And one of the things that this person says to me is that the king is hurt by what the former president has gone through over the past few months, and this being a courtesy call just to go and check him and see how he's coping during this difficult times that we know that the former president is facing different court challenges.
Yeah, issues around traditional leaders and politics are never too far from each other. In fact, many people are already pointing out that this visit was initially pointed out by UDM leader Bantu Holomisa in a tweet, essentially suggesting that he and Dalindyebo and I think several other people were mentioned are likely to visit the former president. Are we getting a sense of some kind of lines of demarcation being drawn, at least insofar as alliances are concerned here, or is that a bit of a stretch?
I think when I read the tweet, from my understanding was that Duduzile, had posted, that she'll be celebrating her 40th birthday, and her father, which is the former president, will be celebrating his 80th birthday this year. And one of the things that they were at Dalindyebo's homestead, and the king requested Manye, the UDM leader, Holomisa, to help to facilitate a meeting with him and the king. That's what, from my understanding, what the UDM leader was saying, Holomisa, in his tweet.
Yeah.
And also what is interesting, I think, is that, we saw just after the elections, the EFF, their presence, for a king, a new car, and we know that the EFF are the first to go and visit President Zuma, former President Zuma, when it was not popular when no one wanted to go or to be seen, near to Zuma. But the EFF leader Julius Malema and the likes of Dalindyebo were part of the delegation to go and see the former president. So obviously their relationship also with King Dalindyebo and the EFF and the former president Zuma with the EFF. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. What is also interesting is that it's not the first time that these two individuals meet. The first meeting was back in 2014. That's when the king actually went to apologize to the former president for remarks that he made in public, where he essentially said that Zuma, who was president at the time, has no respect for traditional leaders and ministers. How much do you reckon the discussions in the first meeting will feature in this second meeting, given just how much has unfolded in the political terrain since then?
As I said, I had the opportunity to speak to someone who is part of the delegation. One thing is that this meeting is not about going there to bash the former president, but it's the king going there to give his support, moral support to the former president, more than anything from what I've managed to get from those who are part of this delegation.
What is also interesting is that our reporter, Linda Mies, is actually outside the Nkandla homestead at the moment. And what I find quite intriguing is the fact that it's a bit quiet there. In fact, he's not getting any sense of, a king set to arrive at any moment now. Does that take you by surprise?
Well, there's been a lot of things happening in Nkandla over the past few months. The reality of the matter, for you to mobilize people either way to go to Nkandla is money. And the question is that do they have the money to stretch for this visit? You know, I mean, I'll give you an example. When the EFF went there to Nkandla, also there was no hype. You know, you would not see EFF members outside of Nkandla. You know, so it's I think it's okay. It's normal. You know, he's not like what you are saying. Whether we call him Prince Misizulu, which we know that his kingship is being contested, where you'll say that probably Amabutu will go to, you know, welcome the king, you know. So those are some of the things that, and he's coming from the Eastern Cape.
There's obvious reasons why there'd be media attention around who goes to Nkandla, and in fact people will try to draw all kinds of parallels and connections. From your vantage point, outside of, you know, the king wanting to check on former President Jacob Zuma, given the couple of months that he's had, are you drawing any of those kind of political connections, given even just the surprises we've seen already this year?
I mean, that's why I was making a reference to that. The king, him alone, also being close to the EFF, we saw during the elections, where he spoke to the people of Abathembu, persuading them to vote for the EFF, mobilizing the EFF vote, you know. So obviously we can't separate this from politics, you know, because the king, whether we like it or not, he's always been someone who's very in the political sphere, you know. At some point there used to be the DA element, you know, where he was with the DA, you know. So that's the thing about the king. The king is always out there when it comes to issues of politics in this country, and I think he's one of the few kings, if not the only king, who's always taken a stand in terms of a political party and not being apologetic, you know, for his stance. Yeah. Given
what you've just said, are you expecting some kind of, dare I say, political statement to be made by the king after this visit?
Absolutely. One will look forward to hearing that, because you can't go and meet a former president, and while depending also the media they get a chance to see him immediately after that. But that will be interesting to hear. What will his thoughts be, you know, around the developments that are happening around the former president? And the king speaks his mind. That's the one thing about this king, you know. So it will be very interesting what will his thoughts be after his engagement with a former president. Unfortunately, we are not clued up in terms of some of the details that they will engage on, you know.
Yeah.
From a political point of view.
Without a doubt. Rebone Tau is a political analyst, also author of the book, The Rise and Fall of the ANC Youth League. Rebone, once again, thanks very much indeed for your time.